Hello everyone. Next presentation regarding nuclear pollutions. Nuclear pollutions is any undesirable effect caused to the environment due to radioactive substances or radiations is called as nuclear pollutions. Major source is the nuclear power plants. It traces of the radioactive substances are present in the water. What is released from the plant, it will cause nuclear pollutions. Emissions of radiations can also cause the kind of pollutions. Nuclear pollution is if traces of an radioactive substances are present in the water that is released from the plant. It will it will cause nuclear pollutions. Emissions of radiations can also cause this kind of pollutions. Any undesirable effect caused to the environment due to radioactive substances or radiations is called as nuclear pollutions. That is major source is the nuclear power plants is available. Okay, major source is the nuclear power plant. If traces of the radioactive substances are present in the water that is released from the plant, it will cause nuclear pollutions. Emissions of radiations can also cause this kind of pollutions. It affects almost all life forms in the surrounding environment. From planktons to human being, nothing is spread. To be more specific, the radiations can cause mutations that lead to cancer, and dose of radiations or the level of pollutions determines lethality or how deadly it is. What is nuclear pollutions? One of the most important and dangerous type of pollution is nuclear pollutions. Nuclear pollutions is produced by nuclear explosion which are carried out for performing nuclear tests. Produced by generation of energy by nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. It affects almost all life forms in the surrounding environment. From the human being, nothing is spared. To be more specific, the radiations can cause mutation that lead to cancer. However, nuclear pollution is extremely hazardous in nature. It occurs as a result of nuclear explosions that are performed while conducting nuclear tests. These nuclear tests are carried out to invent better nuclear weapons. The explosions cause release of 15 to 20% radioactive material into the stratosphere. On entering this layer, they start falling into the Earth's atmosphere. This fall can take anywhere from 6 months to several years. Of 5% of these radioactive particles enter troposphere, which is the lowest layer of the atmosphere. Then, what is the causes of nuclear pollution is first one is nuclear power plants. Second one is nuclear experiment. Third one is transportation of nuclear matters. Next one is use of nuclear weapons. Next one is nuclear accidents. And next one is disposal of nuclear waste in the environment. Because of these all reasons, it is created the pollution of nuclear. Then what is the effect of nuclear pollution is nuclear radiation seriously affects the life on earth. That is, the explosion from the nuclear bombs does two type of damages. First one is directly from blast, and second one is dispersal of radioactive isotopes. What is radioactive pollutions? The radioactive pollution is defined as the physical pollutions of air, water, and other radioactive materials. What is radiation? That is the invisible energy waves or particles. Natural radiations is the natural radiations are known as the background radiations. For example, cosmic rays. The cosmic rays contains highly energetic particles which reach the surface of the earth causing pollutions. Human consumes these particles through the process of food chain. Serious health problems now arise. Injections of radioactive materials can lead to cancer and genetic mutations in humans. Fallouts that do not drop on leaves accumulate over the sea. This can be harmful for the sea life, which ultimately affects the humans. Nuclear pollution happens when radioactive elements come into contact with other elements in environment and emits, that is alpha and gamma rays. Shortwave electromagnetic rays, we can also say that, which is serious threat to living organism. The phenomenon of nuclear fusion creates a nuclear pollutions. Due to nuclear fusion, 15% to 20% nuclear particles enter into stratosphere. Almost 5% nuclear particles enter into troposphere. The prevention of radioactive pollution is to avoid this type of pollution. There are many reasons. That is, the first one is avoid constructing nuclear power plants. This is the first. Second one is avoid using nuclear weapons. This is the second. Next one is have proper treatment for nuclear waste. And last one is, that is, avoid mining for uranium to a animal. This is the prevention of radioactive pollutions. Then what is the causes and effects of nuclear pollutions is, causes is nuclear power plants is, for example, Neyveli, Kalpakkam, that is the nuclear power plant. Next is nuclear weapons means, for example, that is called missiles. Next is disposal of nuclear waste. And last one is uranium mining. This is the causes. Then what is the effect? The diseases include blood in cough. This is the effect. Next one is high problems. Next one is bone cancers. Next effect is lung cancer. Next is swelling of bone joints. And last one is UICR. That is the all over effects of nuclear pollutions. Next one is pros, that is low pollutions is regarding nuclear power has a lot fewer greenhouse emissions than the burning of fossil fuels. So nuclear energy doesn't release any gases like methane and carbon dioxide, which are the primary greenhouse gases. So it is necessary that only nuclear power station causes nuclear pollutions. Even other industries not related to nuclear power production can also contribute to it. Coal has small amount of radioactive material in the form of uranium and thorium. So these do not burn completely and become part of fly ash. Even while producing oil and gas, radium and similar elements are released into the air. Pros of low operating cost is nuclear power produces very inexpensive electricity. So the cost of the uranium which is used as a fuel in this process is low. Also, even though the cost of setting up nuclear power plants is moderately high, the expense of running them is quite low. Reprocessing is solution we have to extent of nuclear pollutions and clean the planet increasingly residues. The biggest likelihood of radioactive element reaching open environment is by accident during the transportation to the reprocessing plants located in some parts of the globe. So reprocessing in itself causes other pollution problems, adding other risks to the already environment conditions. Next one is extraction phase and typical conditions. Pollutant stability have ion exchangeable. That is, the typical condition is high concentrations of salts, neutral pH, that is MgCl2, CaCl2, NH4, OAC, that is NaNO3. This is the typical conditions. Next one is carbonate specific sorptions, that is mild acid, pH 5, HOAC and NaOAC. Next one is Fe main oxide, that is reducible. This is the reducing agents and elemental temperature. Next one is organic, that is oxidizable, that is oxidizing chemical agent and elementary temperature. Next one is residual. This is the concentrated mineral acids elevated temperatures. Next is pros reliability is a nuclear power plant can run uninterrupted for a years as solar and wind energy are dependent upon weather conditions. So this nuclear power plant has no such a restrictions and can run without disruptions in any climatic conditions. And next one is the uranium supply is going to last much longer than that of fossil fuels that are used in the same capacity. Photographs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is the best example of nuclear pollutions or nuclear pollutions effect which is happened are two cities, that is Hiroshima and Nagasaki. See the pictures in that particular slides. The completely vanishing all over system is going to be connected, and then it is completely vanishing all over cities. Control of nuclear pollution is then proper maintenance of nuclear power plants. Then how we have to be control or minimizes this nuclear pollution, there are the basic all over solutions. First one is proper maintenance of nuclear plants. Second one is the disposal of radioactive material must be safe and secure. Third one is ban usage of nuclear weapons. Next one is safe transportation. Next one is proper storage. Next, preventive nuclear experiments. Next, fusion reactions need to be minimized. And last one is minimize use of nuclear element. These are the all our solutions or controlling methods of all our nuclear pollutions system. Next one is production of nuclear weapons. Radioactive materials used in this production have high health risks and release a small amount of pollutions. Thanks to good current health standards, this release is not significant and is not a danger to us unless an accident occurs. Presently, no country has efficiently solved the issue of nuclear pollution in terms of radioactive waste storage. Every state would like to send the residues to some other places and be rid of them, while no truly viable conclusion is reached. Nuclear power plants under current standard produce little radioactive pollutions due to safety precautions that must be adhered to. Accidents at these power plants can cause dangerously high radioactive pollutions, such as in the case of some city, the most well-known and worst nuclear disaster in history, and the more recent Fukushima. This is the one more example after the earthquake and tidal wave in Japan. The types of this particular nuclear pollution is continuous pollution, accidental pollution, and occasional pollutions. In particular, continuous pollution is this type of condition exists in uranium mines, nuclear reactors, test labs, etc., where the humans are under continuous exposure to radioactive contaminants, and protective clothing is required to avoid radiation's exposure. In particular, accidental pollution is this type of condition exists during accidental exposure to radiations by virtue of equipment failure, radiation leak, faulty protective equipment, etc. In occasional pollution is this condition exists during isolated experiments or tests of nuclear substances. Effect of nuclear pollution on human beings is the impact of radioactive pollutions on human being can vary from mild to fatal. The magnitude of the adverse effect largely depends on the level and duration of exposure to radioactively low levels of localized all over system. This is the low levels of localized exposure may only have superficial effect and cause mild skin irritation. Long-term exposure or exposure to high amounts of radiation can have far more serious health effect. Radioactive rays can cause irreparable damage to DNA molecules and can lead to a life-threatening conditions. Next slide is all over regarding radioactive pollutions, which is major, which is the heart of nuclear pollutions. Is radioactive pollutions is the physical pollutions of that affects air, water, and soil caused by ionizing radiations of harmful nature emitted from distinguishing all atomic nuclei. Radioactive pollution can be defined as the emission of high energy particles or radioactive substances into air, water, or land due to human activities in the form of radioactive wastage. Nuclear waste comes from a number of sources. The operations conducted by nuclear power station produce a radioactive waste. Nuclear waste may generate low to medium radiations over long period of times. The radioactivity may contaminate and propagate through air, water, and soil as well. The main issue is that fact the nuclear waste cannot be degraded or treated chemically or biologically. The mining and refining of uranium and thorium. Next one is nuclear fuel cycles, which is used in many industrial, medical, and scientific processes. Next one is effect. Radioactive substances are among the most toxic substances known as mercury. That is the Nobel illustrated discovery. The radioactivity in 1903. That is the became a victim of radioactive pollutions and died of leukemia. Some of the major biochemical effects are well known in industry during Second World War in Japan, that is 1945. Many people were died due to radioactivity of the atom, that is atomic explosion. Another prominent radioactive disaster was in 1984, that is Chernobyl, where an atomic power station was met with accident. Then all our conclusion regarding this system, the nuclear pollution is not the only hazard that comes together with the use of radioactive energy. Mass populations are on a current basis if something happens to a reactor, as it was the case with the Russian instance. There are other energy sources that are still highly effective without the huge risk of nuclear pollutions or irradiations, that is geothermal sources, ocean currents, tidal waves, wind and waterfall all make alternative power solutions that should not be neglected. Environmental friendly electricity is one of the chances this planet has to survive. Fish and ocean plants are highly contaminated due to nuclear pollutions. Again, Greenpeace has repeatedly signed out huge amount of influence produced by the nuclear plant on the coast of England, for instance. Then attempts a nuclear power plant is a power generally electrical produced from control, that is non-explosive nuclear reactions. Electric utility reactors heat water to produce steam, which is in the used to generate electricity. In 2009, 15% of world's electricity came from nuclear power. So despite concerns about safety and radioactive waste management is properly. Then finally we have to be getting the step of conclusion. We have learned a small part of this idea, but we understood how we can be dangerous. We have to be more careful using nuclear power. Our potential is very great. We have very smart scientists which can design a best defense from bad pollutions. So nuclear energy has a future. This is the all over conclusion. Thank you.